guys? It's Richie here with Statifying Football. The college football week 12 noon games. Jump in. Alabama, Mississippi State. Alabama's coming off an awesome game against LSU, even though they lost 46-41 to Tagovailoa. 418 passing, 4 touchdown passes. He did throw a pick and he fumbled once. Najee Harris ran for 146 and a touchdown. Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 213 yards and 2 touchdowns. They put up 541 yards of offense, but they turned it over twice. Defense did have 5 sacks in that game. Mississippi State's coming off a bye. Their last game was a 54-24 win over Arkansas. Tommy Stevens passed for 172, 2 touchdowns, and ran for 74. Kylan Hill ran for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns. Nick Gibson ran for 129 and a touchdown. They put up 640 yards. Defense had 2 turnovers, including a pick 6. I don't expect this to be all that close. Alabama I told you he wasn't hurt. Alabama should win big. All right, this is a big game in the Big 12. Indiana Hoosiers and Penn State. Indiana did just get ranked. They're actually 7-2 right now. Penn State is 8-2 right now with the loss. Indiana's coming off a bye. The last game was a 34-3 win over Northwestern. Both quarterbacks played and played well. Michael Penix, 10-15, 162 plus 1 rushing touchdown. Peyton Ramsey, 7-10 for 108 and a touchdown. Stevie Scott ran for 116 and 2 touchdowns. Defense forced 3 turnovers and only allowed 199 yards. Penn State, they only lost to Minnesota 31-26, and that's with Sean Clifford throwing 3 interceptions. So he turned it over too much and had a chance at the end where he threw a pick in the end zone. He still threw for 340 yards and a touchdown and added 39 rushing yards. Journey Brown ran for 124 and 2 touchdowns. KJ Hamler, 7 catches, 119. Frymouth had 7 catches, 101. They put up 518 yards, but they allowed 3 turnovers. I think this will be a pretty close game. Indiana is pretty good this year. Both offenses can score. I'm going to go Penn State here. I think they'll bounce back. Penn State does have a really, really good defense. Indiana can put up some points, but I think Penn State will just do a little bit more. I think Clifford will bounce back and not turn it over as much. I got Penn State there. All right, big game in the SEC. Florida taking on Missouri. Florida is coming off a 56-0 win over Vanderbilt. Kyle Trask played well, 363, 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks. He got to cut that out, and he added 1 rushing touchdown. Emory Jones, the backup quarterback / Wildcat / whatever, he was 2 of 3 for 47 yards. He only ran for 34 yards, but he had 3 rushing touchdowns. They put up 560 yards. The 2 turnovers, they can't do that. Defense had 6 sacks. Mohamed Diabate had 3 of them. They forced 2 turnovers. They had a fumble return for a touchdown and only allowed 128 total yards. Missouri got killed by Georgia 27-0. Now, Kelly Bryant wasn't hurt. He should be playing this game. They had 2 quarterbacks play. They didn't fare very well. They combined 18 of 34 for 148 and a pick. They only had 198 yards. Missouri's a dangerous team. Kelly Bryant's a good quarterback. This will be a lot closer than I think people expect. It's in Missouri. That being said, Trask has been playing really well all season as long as he doesn't turn over, which he hasn't really. He had the 2 picks last game, and that most of the, I think he's thrown like maybe a couple like in his games all year. He normally doesn't turn it over. I expect he won't again. So I got Florida in this one, but kind of a close game. Wisconsin, Nebraska. This one's big for Nebraska if they want to try to get to a bowl. They're 4-5. They're going to win 2 of their last 3 games. Wisconsin coming off a hard-fought 24-22 win over Iowa. Jack Cohn was solid, 173 passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Jonathan Taylor went off for 250 rushing yards. They did turn over twice, so you don't want to do that against Nebraska. Whereas Nebraska, they're coming off a bye. The last game was a 31-27 loss to Purdue. Adrian Martinez, he's been so inconsistent this year. He passed for 247, ran for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he did throw a pick in the loss. J.D. Spielman had 6 catches for 123. Defense did have 3 sacks and forced 2 turnovers. If they want to beat Wisconsin, they're going to have to do that. I don't think this... I have a hard time seeing an upset here. I'm going to go Wisconsin. I think Jonathan Taylor is too good, and he might run all over them. Michigan State and Michigan. Michigan State, they're coming off... They were up. They lost to Illinois 37-34. They were up 31-10 in the 4th quarter and allowed Illinois to score 27 points there. Lewerke, 251 passing, 1 touchdown. He threw 3 interceptions. He cannot do that against Michigan and hope to win. He did add 96 rushing yards and a touchdown. Elijah Collins ran for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cody White, 7 receptions, 28 yards. They put up 526 yards of offense, but they turned over 4 times. I don't think they'll get 500 yards in Michigan, but they definitely cannot turn it over 4 times. Their defense had 3 sacks, 4 turnovers. That's the kind of thing they'll have to do if they want to beat Michigan. This is a rivalry game. Throw all the stats out the window. Michigan, they have one of the best defenses in the country. Their offense is still pretty inconsistent. They're coming off a bye. The last game was a 38-7 win over Maryland. Patterson was okay, 151 and a touchdown. They had a kick return for a touchdown. They had 4 sacks on defense. That's why I'm going to go with Michigan here. I think this will be close. It's a rivalry. Michigan State's still a decent team. But I got Michigan. I think unfortunately for Michigan State, they'll force some turnovers. And I do see a close win, though, like a 24-17, 27-17, something, 27-19, kind of weird win like that. All right, Kansas and Oklahoma State. Kansas is coming off a bye. Their last game was a 38-10 loss to Kansas State. Carter Stanley, 115 passing, 2 picks. They only had 241 yards, 2 turnovers. They did not look good. Oklahoma State, they're coming off a bye. Their last game was a 34-27 win over TCU, which is Texas Christian. Quarterback Spencer Sanders passed for 158, 2 touchdowns a pick, and added 88 rushing yards. Chuba Hubbard, the nation's leading rusher, he had 223 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 301 as a team. The defense had 5 sacks and 4 turnovers in that game. Kansas is really good. Puka Williams, one of the best running backs. Carter Stanley normally has been playing pretty well most of the year. I'm going to go Oklahoma State here. Possibly shootout here, but I'll go Oklahoma State. Chuba Hubbard, I think, should run all over them. All right, UMass and Northwestern, not very good teams here. UMass got killed by Army 63-7. They had 3 quarterbacks play. They combined 9 of 22 for 99 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. They only had 125 total yards. They turned over twice. Northwestern, their offense hasn't been very good all year, but they played well against Purdue. They only lost on a last-second field goal, 24-22. Aiden Smith, 184 passing, 2 touchdowns, a pick, plus 30 rushing yards. Kyrick McGowan ran for 146 and a touchdown. They put up 435, 2 turnovers. The defense forced 2 turnovers and had a safety. UMass is not good at all. Northwestern has been pretty terrible, but I have a hard time seeing UMass winning, so I'll go Northwestern here. All right, big game for bowl eligibility. TCU and Texas Tech, both are 4-5. Both need to win 2 of the last 5. I think, in my opinion, I believe whoever wins this will end up getting the bowl game because of the rest of their schedules. TCU almost beat Baylor. They took them to 3 overtimes where they lost 29-23. Max Duggan passed for 140, a touchdown. He did throw 3 picks, but if he didn't throw those 3 interceptions, they would have probably won. They added 46 rushing yards. They did have 3 turnovers. Defense had 3 sacks and 2 turnovers. Texas Tech killed West Virginia 38-17. Jet Duffy, 354 passing and a touchdown. Dalton Rigdon, 3 catches, 106 and a touchdown. The defense forced 4 turnovers, but they did give up 549 yards. I expect this to be a bit of a shootout. Max Duggan for TCU can move it. Texas Tech, they can always move it, usually on offense. That being said, I'm going to actually go with Texas Tech here. I'm going to say they get it. Just finally get it done, but this might be pretty high scoring, 49-45 kind of game. Our Virginia Military Institute 1AA team taking on Army. Army killed UMass 63-7. They ran for 498 yards. DeVar Laws ran for 140 and touchdown. Defense had 3 sacks, 2 turnovers, all allowed 125. I think they shouldn't have much trouble with that other military institute. I think Army wins. 1AA Alabama State taking on Florida State 5-5. Florida State had a big win against Boston College 38-31. Blackman passed for 346 and 2 touchdowns to Maury and Terry, 7 catches, 156 and a touchdown. They put up 524 yards. They did have 11 penalties. They need to clean that up, but I don't think that'll matter for this game against Alabama State. I think Florida State will get bowl eligible here. All right, Tulane 6-3 against Temple 6-3. Big game in the American Athletic Conference. Tulane's coming off a bye. The last game was a 38-26 win over Tulsa. McMillan, 184 passing, a touchdown. He did throw 2 picks. He added 73 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Stephen Hutterson ran for 100 yards. They ran for 290. Defense had 4 sacks and a fumble return for touchdown. Temple beat USF 17-7. Jager Gardner ran for 133. Jaden Blue, 11 catches, 121. It was really about their defense. Temple's defense had 9 sacks. Quincy Roche had 3.5 of them. They forced 2 turnovers, and they had a fumble return for a touchdown. I expect this will be an interesting game. Temple's normally pretty good on defense and on offense, can put up points. Tulane, they've been able to move it pretty well on offense. As long as McMillan doesn't turn it over, they can. I'm going to actually go Tulane here in that game, but that'll come down to the end. That'll be a really good one. All right, UTEP, Texas El Paso taking on UAB Blazers. UTEP, they lost to Charlotte 28-21. They were actually up 21-7 at halftime, and they lost. Kay Loxley, he didn't have a bad game. 215 passing, a touchdown, a pick. Added 84 rushing yards and a touchdown. Jacob Cowing, 6 catches, 145 yards. UAB, they got killed by Southern Miss, which is unusual. UAB's kind of been the class of the CUSA the last couple of years. When they lose, they don't lose badly. But they got killed 37-2. That being said, their quarterback Tyler Johnson was hurt. He did not play. Dylan Hopkins came in, didn't play very well. 103 passing, 2 picks. They only had 173 yards. Defense did have 4 sacks and a safety. Johnston may not play, but I expect UAB to bounce back. UTEP is not a very good team, but I think UAB should be able to win this one. But I think it might be a little bit closer, especially if Dylan Hopkins plays for UAB. But I still got them. All right, big game. Both ranked. Navy and Notre Dame. Both are ranked, taking each other on. This will be a tough one. Navy coming off a bye. Their last game was a 56-10 win over UConn. Malcolm Perry threw for 165 and a touchdown. He ran for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. They ran for 408 yards. They put up 573 yards. That triple option defense had 3 sacks and forced 3 turnovers actually in that game. Whereas Notre Dame killed Duke 38-7. Ian Book passed for 181, 4 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks. You can't do that against Navy. He added 139 rushing yards. They ran for 288. Defense had 2 turnovers, only allowed 197. I think this will be a really close game. Navy's really good this year, and they have that triple option. They've been going over everybody. Notre Dame has been. Ian Book's done pretty well, but they're tough. I'll go Notre Dame here, but they're an upset alert for sure. I think Navy might get this one, but I'll go Notre Dame. All right, BYU 5-4 taking on Idaho State. BYU just needs one more win to get to bowl eligibility. I think they get it here. They beat a pretty good Liberty team 31-24. Baylor Romney 262 passing, 3 touchdown passes, 1 pick, plus 36 rushing yards. They had 471 yards, 2 turnovers. They can't do that, but they shouldn't have too much trouble with Idaho State. I'll go there. All right, Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State. Big one for Sun Belt, especially big for both bowl aspirations. Coastal Carolina is 4-5. They need to win 2 of the last 3 to get to bowl eligibility. Arkansas State, they're 5-4. They just need 1 win here in their last 3 games to get to a bowl game. CCU's coming off a 48-7 loss to Louisiana Lafayette. They only had 236 yards. They really did not play as well as they can play in that game. Arkansas State, they're coming off a bye. The last game was a big shootout win against Louisiana Monroe, 48-41. Lane Hatcher passed for 307, 2 touchdowns. Marcel Miller ran for 175 and 3 touchdowns. They put up 514. They turned it over twice. Coastal Carolina, their offense is better than that game. I think this should be a pretty high-scoring game, but I'm going to go Arkansas State here. I have a hard time seeing Coastal Carolina getting to that bowl game this year, so I got Arkansas State. All right, Louisiana Monroe and Georgia Southern, another huge one maybe for Sun Belt title aspirations and for bowl eligibility aspirations. Louisiana Monroe themselves are 4-5. They need to win 2 of the last 3. Georgia Southern is 5-4. They just need to win 1 more. Louisiana Monroe, they actually beat a good Georgia State team, 45-31. Caleb Evans, 291 passing, 3 touchdowns, plus 110 rushing yards and a touchdown. Josh Johnson ran for 168, 2 touchdowns. They put up 590 yards of offense. Georgia Southern, kind of a little bit of an upset. They lost to Troy 49-28. Shea Werts passed for 181 and 3 touchdowns. They only ran for 152 as a team, and they're a triple option team. They're one of the nation's top 2 or 3 running attacks. Defense forced 2 turnovers but allowed 603 yards. Louisiana Monroe has shown they can put up a lot of yards, a lot of points. Georgia Southern, they can put up points. Their triple option team can go up and down the field. I expect this to be a little bit of a shootout. I think Georgia Southern will bounce back here and get the win over Louisiana Monroe. But that'll be a really fun game, I think, to watch. All right, Troy, Texas State. Technically, both teams are alive for bowl games. Troy is 4-5. They had a big win over Georgia Southern, beating 49-28. Caleb Barker passed for 330, 3 touchdowns, added 36. DK Billingsley ran for 163, 2 touchdowns. Kalen Geiger, 7 catches, 110. They put up 603 yards of offense. Their defense had 9 sacks in that game. Marcus Webb had 3 of them. Whereas Texas State, they come off a nice win. They're 3-6. They got to win their last 3 games to get to a bowl game. Troy needs to win 2 of the last 3. They beat USA with a late field goal, 30-28. Tyler Vitt, 373 passing, 3 touchdowns, plus 42 rushing. Hutch White, 10 catches, 165 yards. They only ran for 42 yards in that game, but they did get a win. This might be Texas State can kind of pass it a little bit, but I'm going to go with Troy here. I think Troy is a better overall team. They did beat a really good Georgia Southern team and beat them pretty soundly. Troy needs to win 2 of the last 3. I think they get 1 of them here, so I'll go Troy there. All right, so those are my picks for the new games. Check out my NFL ones and my 3:30 and primetime ones. Peace.